Our world, the only world we had ever known, was called Sector 7. It was a perfect city, enclosed beneath a sky that was always a gentle blue. We had everything we needed. Food appeared in dispensers, the air was always clean, and the temperature never changed. For generations, this was our reality. It was stable, it was safe. We were taught that this was humanity's last refuge, a sanctuary built after a great catastrophe long ago. We believed it, because, well, why would we question perfection? We lived our lives, followed the routines, and never thought to ask what might lie beyond the city's edge. But things started to go wrong. Small things at first. A flicker in the sky, like a brief power cut, a strange hum that would echo through the streets for a few seconds before disappearing. My friend Alara found a piece of fruit that was perfectly square. Then, a child's toy vanished from a locked room, only to reappear on a rooftop across the city. People whispered about these glitches. The city's automated guides would simply tell us it was a system error. They told us not to worry. But the glitches became more frequent and the worry grew into a quiet, creeping fear. The perfection was breaking. One day, something happened that we could not ignore. A section of the sky, a large square patch, went completely black for a full minute. It was not the black of night, it was the black of nothingness, a void. We journeyed to the city's northern perimeter. The guides warned us to turn back, their calm voices now sounding strained, almost desperate. We pushed on. The air near the wall felt different, heavy and still. The usual city sounds faded away, replaced by that low, persistent hum. We reached the towering metal wall which stretched higher than any building, disappearing into the artificial blue of the sky. It was supposed to be solid, impenetrable. But Kale noticed something strange. He ran his hand along its surface and found a seam, a line so thin it was almost invisible. It wasn't metal. It felt smooth, like polished stone or something else entirely. Kale worked on the seam for hours using tools he had built from scavenged parts. He believed it was a hidden access panel, a door that was not meant to be found. As he worked, Alara and I kept watch. The feeling of being observed was overwhelming. It felt like 1,000 unseen eyes were on us. Suddenly, with a soft click, Kale found the trigger. The seam glowed with a faint light, and a section of the wall shimmered. It became transparent. We weren't looking at a ruined world outside. We were looking into a vast, dark space. We saw enormous figures moving in the shadows, their shapes unclear but impossibly large. They were humanoid, but far too tall and thin to be human. They moved slowly, deliberately, their attention focused on glowing consoles and screens that floated in the air around them. Our entire city, our whole world, was contained within a gigantic, transparent box. We were an exhibit. We were an experiment. We stumbled back from the transparent wall, our minds racing. They knew. The wall turned opaque again, hiding the terrifying truth, but we couldn't unsee it. We had to get out, not just out of Sector 7, but out of the entire laboratory. Kale believed the wall was a projection, a sophisticated form of light and energy. He thought he could disrupt it, create a hole big enough for us to crawl through, but we would need a massive power surge for exactly 5 seconds. Our escape plan was desperate, and it had to be fast. Our target was the city's central power conduit. It was the heart of Sector 7. According to schematics, it was heavily guarded by automated sentinels. Ilara, Reese. While they distracted the sentinels, Kale would break into the control room and reroute the city's energy to the northern wall for exactly 5 seconds. The diversion worked perfectly. Alarms blared across the southern sectors. We saw the sentinels, sleek robotic drones, speeding away from the central core. Kale and I moved quickly, our hearts pounding. We sliced through the control room door and faced the conduit itself, a pulsating pillar of pure energy.
Kale frantically worked the controls. "It's fighting me!" he yelled over the roar. "They're trying to lock me out!" "Now!" Kale shouted. He slammed his hand down on a final button.
The lights in the control room died. The entire city went dark and silent. We had 5 seconds. We ran, faster than we had ever run before, back towards the northern wall. As we sprinted through the darkened streets, we saw it. A shimmering, jagged hole had opened in the wall, crackling with raw energy. It was our only way out. We leaped through the opening, leaving the silence of our artificial world behind us. We landed hard on a cold, metallic floor. The impact, sparks, boots on metal. The air was different here, thin and sterile with the smell of ozone. We were in a massive, dimly lit corridor. The walls were made of a dark, non-reflective material, and the corridor stretched into darkness in both directions. Ilara, Kale, Reese, We were out, we had escaped Sector 7, but honestly, we were not free. We had only moved from the cage into the larger laboratory. The sense of being watched was stronger than ever, a suffocating presence that seemed to press in from all sides. We passed other enclosures, other transparent boxes just like ours. Inside one, we saw a desert world under a blazing sun. Strange, lizard-like creatures skittered across the sand. In another, a dense jungle thrived, filled with plants that glowed with their own internal light. There were dozens of these terrariums. We were just one of many. This wasn't just a laboratory. It was a zoo of entire ecosystems, a collection of stolen worlds. The thought was horrifying. Suddenly we heard a sound. A heavy, rhythmic thudding was approaching from the darkness ahead. We ducked behind a large piece of machinery. One of the giants walked past. It was even taller up close, at least 30 feet tall. Its limbs were long and slender, its skin a pale gray. It had no discernible face, just a smooth, featureless head. It carried a long, glowing rod and seemed to be on patrol. We waited until it passed and then continued on, our fear mixed with a desperate resolve. We needed to find a way out of the entire facility. We stumbled upon what looked like a control room. The door was open. Inside, the room was empty, but the consoles and screens were still active, displaying complex diagrams. Our faces were displayed on the giant screen, captured by a hidden camera. Below our images, alien symbols scrolled rapidly, but then, the script changed. It morphed into English letters. A single question appeared. Hypothesis. When faced with the truth of their confinement, will the subjects seek to escape? It was a log entry. Our escape wasn't a failure of their security, it was part of the test. They had allowed us to get out. They wanted to see what we would do next. We were not rebels who had outsmarted our captors, we were just rats who had solved the first part of the maze. Suddenly, the perspective on the screen pulled back. It showed our control room, then the corridor we were in, then the entire laboratory with all its enclosures. The tall gray aliens we thought were the scientists were just another experiment, one level up from us. The sphere was sitting on a workbench. This new lab was even bigger and filled with beings of a completely different shape, creatures made of swirling light and crystalline geometry. Experiment 734, Nested Realities. Observation. The secondary subjects, Species 2, the curators, have successfully initiated the primary experiment, Species 1, the humans. The curators remain unaware of our own observation. They were running an experiment on us, while a higher intelligence was running an experiment on them. Our entire struggle was just a data point in a test we couldn't even begin to understand. We were frozen, staring at the screen. Who was watching them? How many layers were there? Was this pyramid of observation endless? A final line of text appeared. Phase 2 initiated. Introduce variables.